Today, we will have an interesting conversation with her about forming communities in the organization and all aspects related to it. Welcome, Kiran. Thank you so much for joining us. So, if you just want to maybe start with your quick introduction, and then we have a few questions for you that we would like to ask, and that's how we will unfold the conversation.
Perfect. Thank you very much for a warm welcome, Ankita, and glad to be here with you and the bigger community.
Right.
What kind of introduction would you prefer? Because
To
um,
begin with, what I wanted to understand first is that we have been doing these kind of webinars from the month of April, but
uh-huh.
this is the first kind of topic regarding communities that we have also come across. So,
Right.
first of all, I wanted to understand like what is the motivation of choosing this particular topic, and why did you think that it's important for people to know more about building communities in general?
Well, this topic, I think human by nature is in a social animal, right? And we
Right.
strongly believe in living in communities. Whatever trends that you are currently seeing due to COVID-19, you are seeing a lot of people going into depression, stress related challenges, organization facing challenge to engage employees. So what is this? This is a result of people not being staying in the community at this moment, right? So, as an organization in Invenio, we also thought a lot about it, and we have actually onboarded on building a community within the organization. A formal community structure has been created and has been implemented to build the community so that employees are engaged. People should feel they are valued, they are engaged, so that they are able to pursue their passion.
Oh
So that's
wow.
the reason I
Hmm.
thought this is a very different topic that we should be talking about, because everybody has
Absolutely.
been talking a lot about things which is easily available on Google Maharaj. So just go ahead on TEDx, all those things. So better to talk about something which is very close to any human beings. Yeah.
Right, right, absolutely. So, okay, so I will start with the questions now. My first question is, so generally for the people who haven't really explored the angle of organizational communities, what do you mean by that? And if people have to kind of begin, what is the basic understanding of what is an organizational community to begin with?
So when we talk about organizational community, we are talking about people who are, passionate to pursue certain things, which is within the framework of an organization offering, right?
Right.
And that's the key aspect. Is the organization encouraging people to do it? B,
Mm,
are the leaders open to that kind of a mindset to create those communities? Because there is always a fear that with these communities will lead to something which is going to be against the leadership decisions, or going to be not adding value to the organization, right? Because that's
right,
always been a
right,
fear in the mind of any leader. However,
right,
when you actually move from the mindset of such traditional approach to a growth mindset, where we can actually look forward to ensuring that my people, my talent come together. They discuss certain things which they are passionate about, and that will help them organization to pursue certain new things in the market today. Because there's huge competition out there. We all are living in a VUCA world. There's
right.
so much of ambiguity, so much of turbulence. So to be more competitive and to get that competitive edge, you have to make best use of the talent available. And how you can do that unless you actually promote good idea, promote innovative approach. And how does that happen? It happens only when you build such communities, allow people to pursue their passion, allow them to speak, allow them to share their thoughts, suggestions, recommendations, right? And hence
Right,
this
right.
community, look at any organization, be it Facebook, be it Google, any social media that you talk about, be it even on Twitter, you find those groups there, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's one of the best ways to engage talent,
Right,
um, add value to what people are looking forward to. So
right,
that's
right.
my take here.
Absolutely. So now let's imagine maybe a scenario where there are a few people in the organization who are willing to start communities on the basis of maybe a couple of things. So what are the kind of communities in the organization that people can kind of think about? Like one question comes to mind, that is it on the basis of their personal interest or their passions, or is it strictly domain based, or people who are into say IT, or people who are say writing or designing can form a community or should be forming a community? So how do you what is your approach in this?
So again, it all depends from organization to organization, what organization actually wants to achieve. The first thing is first thing first, the purpose in
Hmm.
mind. Why do I want to create a community? That's very,
Correct.
very important. Not just because everybody is doing it, just because I want people to feel engaged, motivated. No, that shouldn't be the case. You should have a very defined, clearly goals and objectives for having these communities. Again, you don't have to make it very structured, but to
Hmm.
start with, create that kind of first of an ecosystem and an environment where
Hmm.
people should, your employees or workforce should come together, because it's all about social will and skill both, right?
Right.
We have a very good, wonderful example if you look at from a, in South Africa, where we actually, there's a very good example presented by Vital Smarts on this front, where in South Africa, because of the social will and because of the community,
Hmm.
issue was eradicated completely, right? So
Okay.
communities, so as an organization, you have to first look at what is the purpose, why I want to create these communities, what are the avenues available to create those communities, especially now
Right.
that we are living in a digital environment, right?
Right.
Make best use of the technology, make best use of the available tool. If you don't have the tools, buy one, get it, because your people need to be engaged, right? And it
Hmm.
will, these communities are going to get, help, or help the organization to achieve certain goals that they are looking forward to.
Right.
So again, defined objective is very, very important to create any community in the organization. I'll give you our example itself. So we as a
Hmm.
leadership team thought about coming up with, within the domain itself, for an example, in a tech center management domain, or in a business intelligence domain. People are talking about AI, IoT, and all those stuff. But how will you create? How will you, ensure that the people are really interested? So create those communities. See how many people are interested to join those communities. Look at those
Hmm.
people. What kind of, and as a leader, go back, take a step back, and think of, observe people, what kind of conversations they are having, what kind of discussion they are having, what, when you're doing one-on-ones, what kind of aspirations are sharing with you around their career growth.
Right. Right. Right.
In our case, we created a community, different business related or competence practices related communities. And what
Hmm.
happens is the people from the same domain or the practice come together, they share their queries, they come up with a lot of questions around certain modules in that particular practice. And very good healthy discussion happens. So your first statement about competition, right? So
Yeah.
it's in a very healthy competition. At the same time, it also helps you to learn new things from the person whom you may consider as a mentor or a coach later on. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, leading on to this question, like when you talk about organizational communities, can the employees think of building a community on their own, or you think it's better that the leadership or the HR leaders should be taking the initiative? Like, will the two-way street work, or how do you look at it?
Yeah, actually, it works both ways. To start with,
Hmm.
suddenly it's a change, right?
Hmm.
First of all, as I said, am I, as a leader of the organization, is the management of the organization ready to
Hmm.
encourage? what is, as a leader, am I observing certain trends or certain behaviors or certain discussions as a part of the feedback, uh, whether what people are talking about, right? So there you start with you already have those informal community in your organization, fun committee,
Right.
right? You have a sports committee already. So
Correct.
why not leverage these kind of communities for your domain expertise as well?
Hmm.
Why not
Right.
make it move from that informal to a formal? And I tell you what, today's
Hmm.
generation love to have these communities because they like
Absolutely.
to learn quickly, as
Hmm.
much as quickly they forget, but as much they just definitely want to love faster from that perspective rather than
Absolutely.
going through a lot of books and all. So
Right.
yes, start with informal communities. See what kind of passion, what people want to pursue. Of course, it
Hmm.
does not come without pain. Remember, as a
Hmm.
leader, after a while, once you establish informal, then move to a formal community structure, and then
Hmm.
have a close watch on what's going on. It shouldn't
Okay.
be too much because certain times, if you just leave it onto them without being monitored, then I'm sure it may lead to completely a different direction, which organization may not want to, and that may not have been the purpose of it. So
Hmm.
aside
Hmm. Hmm.
for the different communities, um, allow it to be a free flow of community. Quora, for that matter, yeah. If you look at what is Quora, what happens on Quora platform today, it's a kind of
Hmm.
community. Go ask
Right.
questions, it's answered, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
now I think it's more than any other time. It's today is the time when communities plays an important role, and it's a need of the hour.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. So, digging deep into it must have. I mean, there's a possibility that a community suggestion has come either from an employee or from an HR. Then, from the time that they decide upon a particular topic or an interest on basis of which they will form a community, what are the next steps? Like, for example, how does the HR or the L&D leader kind of takes it forward and makes it official into the organization? Like, how does that process take place?
So to your question, I have a little different approach to it.
Sure.
Okay. Um, when an HR comes into a picture
Hmm.
or a leadership comes into a picture, I think that's where a lot of resistance comes in,
Hmm.
right? Because then
Right.
it looks like being monitored. People start looking at what is it that is there is something. Even if I'm going to speak up, it will go to HR or I'll be perceived differently, right? That's
Right.
not the purpose of organization. It has to be a free flow of information. Again, you have to be very careful about not just leaving it, but right to answer your question to the point here. Let let it be a bottom up approach where let employee drive it. You give a
Right.
structure, you provide a platform, you give
Hmm.
whatever is required to make it successful. So that's where the growth mindset of the leader comes. Am I trusting my people? Am I giving that trust to the community here? So for an example,
Correct.
in families, right? If
Hmm.
your parents start
Hmm.
getting into everything that you do, you go to your friends, you go to your when you are with your friends or when you go for a social gathering, if every your parents start getting into asking you every small things and monitoring you, would you like it? No, you don't, right?
Absolutely not. Yeah. Right.
You
Right.
say as a child, as a child, you'll say, I better stay at home rather than answering your 100 questions. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's same as a human being is no different when he goes to work. Of course, there are certain discipline he or she has to take care of it. Having said this, within those boundaries, allow team,
Hmm.
allow talent to manage it. The more you allow them, the more
Correct.
they take the responsibility and accountability to drive it. Yeah. So
Correct.
you
Correct.
can be a
Correct. So,
facilitator, but not the owner for sure.
right, right, right. I think facilitator is a good approach because you're giving a platform, but you're not really monitoring it, and you are kind of leaving it to the employees to take care of it further. So
So in
that
our
works in both ways.
organization, what we are doing is
Hmm.
we are actually we have an SMEs assigned to us all these different communities.
Right.
And at the same time, what we have done is we are also awarding the community members who contribute the most, because what we do is the collected efforts of the entire community. We bring in the competition of publishing a white paper or coming up with the any documentation which can help our customers. So those are the
Okay.
certain things that we encourage. We give them the Star of the Month award and we publish it on our LMS. So such kind of rewards also help bring in this competition.
Right, right, right. So that actually takes me to the next question that I would like to ask you. That according to you and the experience that you have had of having a community inside your organization, what would you say are why are communities important, or what are the advantages of having organizational communities and building them?
So first thing, it helps you to keep your employee engaged. It
Hmm.
helps you to build a culture of collaboration.
Right.
It brings a lot of transparency. It brings it a place. It's a platform where an employee gets a chance to share his or idea. That means an employee feels valued. Okay, he knows there is a platform where I can go and share my thoughts. He feels valued that somebody is there to listen to me, right?
Right.
And at the same time, what happens is this helps you to bring in the culture of innovation. It
Hmm.
helps you to build a culture of one team, one organization, because
Right.
you actually try to build the communities around the values of the organization,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
that is where how that's the biggest benefit for the any organization. One company,
Absolutely.
one team. What else an
Right.
organization would want, especially when most of the workforce now works from home or from
Yeah.
a customer side,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. 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 Right, right, right. So, it brings me to the question that, now we are living in the era where it's been more than 8, 9 months that all of us are working from home, and everything is happening online. So, the chances of maybe talking to the team leader, or, someone to report to is not possible every day, but you're talking to your colleagues, and that is informally getting into, communities. Like, they are obviously not formal communities, but people are having their own WhatsApp groups and have conversations on different platforms. So as an organizational leader, what do you think will be the future of these communities where everything is shifting online? Like, when you have people who are doing activities and getting engaged within the organization, even if you don't have a control over it, you know what's happening, right? But in an online world, you may not always have the access to do that. So in that situation, what do you think, how the leaders should be managing these communities when they're getting built online?
First of all, no controlling. That controlling word has to go out from the leadership, please, because
Right.
nobody would like to manage. Let me
Right.
tell you, everybody can manage themselves, right?
Hmm.
So when you're talking about creating a culture of collaboration, culture of one company, one team, and if you are trying to manage it, then I think
Hmm.
you are not doing the right thing to your purpose, what you have defined. You are again
Right.
trying to lead the way you want, which will not work again. Then again, it's not a then you are getting into an authoritative approach. And here we
Right.
are talking about servant leadership, right?
Hmm.
So again, as I said, coming back to my point earlier, I would strongly recommend that
Hmm.
let the SMEs lead, let your employee lead, and you will feel the difference, because when you give an authority and or a responsibility to the employee, they know how to lead it. Be their guide, be their mentor or a coach, but don't try to lead these at least these communities. So future of the communities is absolutely digital. And
Hmm.
tell you, if you go to any of the Facebook right, events that happens, it
Yeah.
happens within the communities only. What happens?
Absolutely.
The work happens offline, but you
Hmm.
actually present it online.
Yeah.
What are we doing right now? We are doing
Hmm.
the same thing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Right.
So this is going to be, I think, I don't know how to say now, a new normal. This is a normal now. 8, 9 months
Yeah,
too
yeah.
longer a time to talk about it now. So
Absolutely.
we need to be more adaptive to and flexible. I don't know what's coming up because looking at the world, in the next 6 months, we don't know what's going to be the scenario, right? So be
Correct.
flexible, be open, and let communities run because that will help you to survive. I did hear Lena and I talking about. Very recent example in Latin America, how Unilever actually work together,
Mm-hmm.
right? With McDonald and other partners because their employees were not around to
Right.
serve the for the production perspective from the business perspective.
Mm.
So they work together. So that's a community feeling, right? You have to create that community feeling. You have to move out of your own side, and this helps you to break the silos within the organization.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so if you have to break
Absolutely.
silos, if you have to bring in innovation, if you have to adapt to new culture, community is the best place to be in. And as a leader, be part of this community. Try to hear what people are talking about. Trust
Mm-hmm.
me, go and hear any discussion when in a community where the community of processes, right? Or when we talk about quality community, you will hear a lot of things which in fact your team members or people will your workforce will not tell you upfront.
Correct.
Will
Correct.
actually tell you what are the loopholes in the system that you can see.
Mm. Right. Right. Absolutely.
As a leader, go ahead, observe it, try to get message from there, and let
Mm.
it.
Right. Right. Right.
In
So,
fact,
Kiran, from
also, sorry, go ahead. Yes.
no, no, no. Please, finish it.
Nancy, we have a WhatsApp group work. I mean, no, we actually are not restricting it only to using it on the system. We have a
Correct.
platform. You can use it on mobile. You can use it anywhere and everywhere. Kind of.
Correct. 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 True. So this kind of brings me to the question around, like, because you have seen multiple communities getting built in an organization and the way they are functioning, can you maybe give us some examples as to what are the interests or what are the topics around which people are building communities and how are they benefiting? Like, what are the discussions like even in your organization, and even I'm sure you must have seen in many other organizations as well. So what are the typical discussions? What are people discussing in these communities?
Lot of things. For an example, let me tell you from a
Hmm.
functional community perspective. Within functional also, if you
Mm-hmm.
I just say from a tax and revenue management, people are talking about how those forms can be generated because ultimately it is all about we are customer centric organization, right? So people come together and talk about how customers are asking for different approaches to the same form. And when we talk about forms,
Hmm.
um, how a user would like to fill up the income tax form, how easy you can make it, what are the different customers talking about. So what happens is when these people from different projects are talking about it, right? They are sharing their ideas, thought, and then you come up with a very form which is very user friendly, and you go to your customer and say, "This is what the best," and it's a customer delight, right? Ultimately you are in consulting organization, and how does a consulting work? Consulting works coming up with a different solution. For an example, and I'll give you another example. We have a friend who has been hired, started a CA fresh, hired in the same month of November 2019, right? It's what
Mm-hmm.
it's a year now, right? Now for them they want to learn, they wanted to know what my seniors are doing, what is it that what is it that they need to do differently so that they can be able to get into directly working with the customers, right? Or certain challenges that they're facing. So this
Okay.
community, functional community, is helping them to understand from their seniors and experts as to how to deal with certain situations. And in fact, we don't have to now do too much of a training because that is getting addressed directly
Right.
in the community, and the best is it's being done on a timely basis. You don't have to wait for and to figure out who is the person whom I should be reaching out. I should be,
Hmm.
uh, you know, uh, uh, rather than struggling for asking 10 or 10 different, I think the result is much faster than what we thought it would be. It's helping in multiple things.
Right, right, right.
Even
So,
for that matter, right? What is happening in the recruitment? What is happening in the L&D academic function? Because academic
hmm,
is spread over all over, right? In fact, academic is core of the business, right? Because unless we help our employees, our talent to upskill or
upskill. Hmm.
right? All this we get to hear from the community that okay, these are getting addressed. I think we need to focus on this as well. So
Right, right, right.
this is where it is helping us a lot.
Correct,
In
correct,
fact, you
correct.
can do a case study around it and highlight that how these communities are helping us.
Sure. So another last, maybe a second last question that I will take is that there are organizations which have multiple offices, like on a global level also, and in India also, maybe multiple centers. So do you think this entire community concept, like one team, one organization, one community, one organization kind of a thing? So do you think this concept can grow into, one, like different branches of the same organization, and people with different interests or different passions coming together and maybe using online platforms to kind of discuss about stuff that they would like to understand from, or just share or contribute kind of a thing. And I genuinely believe that if organizations can help them facilitate this kind of an online platform where people who are, say, in marketing in one particular country and the other country coming together and discussing, sharing insights and understanding, maybe that trend also might grow in the future. So how do you kind of look at that as well?
You're right. In fact, that is the purpose of having a community to bring in
Hmm.
the culture of, as I said once again, one team, one organization, and
Yeah.
we want to actually leverage the diversity.
Hmm.
And we are an organization which is spread over across the globe, right?
Right.
So we want to bring in people from different cultures together, understand from them what is it, what they want to learn from, say, from India, or what Indians want to learn from folks from
Correct.
Bangladesh or Fiji or Mauritius, right?
Hmm.
So it is a platform and it is helping the organization, and that's the purpose, right? To bring one all the people together from different parts of the world, leverage on their diversity, and become a one organization there.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. So after this, Kiran, I don't really have any questions. I think we have spoken a lot about the entire community part of it. Last thing I would like to ask you is, like, in your organization, you said that from last year you built a few communities, and that you can see the positive results coming in for you as well. So
Right.
how is that experience been? And if people really want to get on ground and start with say a small shared topic that they can talk about in the community, what are the practical ways in which they should approach this? Like, should they be speaking to the HR directly, or should they be talking to the colleagues, people who have similar interest, and then together go to the HR? Like, for example, tomorrow, if I want to build a community in Shinjin, like, what is the ideal way for me to kind of go ahead and approach that?
Well, again, as I said, first form an informal community. Uh,
Right, right.
Murli or
Hmm.
your seniors have to observe what kind of interest that you guys have, right?
Right.
And that should let him. And they should actually be telling you to go ahead and form community. Wonderful discussion. They have to be very open in allowing you to form those informal groups first, and then
Right.
you should take an, I know he as a person who is interested to take it forward, because as I said, human beings want to be
Hmm.
valued, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's your idea. Now you're talking about building a community, go ahead, approach your
Right.
leaders there and say, we are 5 or 6 people. Remember,
Mhm.
team is a when we talk about team is a 4 or 5 people. Community is a much bigger group we are
Much
talking about,
bigger.
right?
Right,
And
right.
it's not
Hmm.
confined to one office, one team, just one business unit. We are talking about people with the same interest, people who would like to pursue this certain things in the same passion, right? So those are the people, people who would like to enjoy when talking about those things, right? And add value to
Absolutely.
your. So you will have to reach out to, or leaders, as I said, if leaders can encourage when they observe you guys talking about certain things, they should
Hmm.
create these communities, give you an opportunity to create, you a platform. Like you said, congratulations for your new LMS that you have created, right? Learning platform. You can
Hmm.
create communities on their learning platform. Actually, you
Right.
don't have to wait for
Right.
HR. Why would an HR be, bottleneck for creating such community? Tell them the
Right.
purpose of having. Why do you want to have it? How do you want to run it?
Hmm.
That's important. Have a moderator. That's important. Have a
Exactly.
person who
Hmm.
can sponsor you.
Correct. Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So
Right.
those are the basic things that should be there in place. I think nothing should stop building a community, because it's already a community. You don't have to form. You already have a community, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just the name
Right.
that you have to give, and leverage it in a much more structured format.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
That,
I see the younger generation kind of already building the communities across different organizations also. I remember from our advertising, that there's a very big group on Facebook that
uh-huh.
the name of the group is My Client Says. And
Wow.
then the clients who have very different requirements or who don't really give a clear brief, there are people who are coming and ranting about it. So, like because they shared the mutual feelings that, all clients can be difficult sometimes and how do you handle them, kind of a thing. So these are people who have come from different advertising agencies and have kind of built this community. So I'm sure the future of communities is very bright, and every organization should make sure to, have such communities in house and try to grow them with the right kind of people. I think that is the way to go for the future.
Right, and leverage them, keep them motivated, because trust me, creativity comes from these communities.
Right.
You'll wonder when you create a community, the kind of ideas that comes up, the solutions that comes up. You don't have to then create a focus group discussion to do all these. It's happening informally. Because, so what
Right.
we plan to do is, we are actually, with the help of these discussion forums,
Mm-hmm.
what we are
Mm-hmm.
actually using as community is, we are creating a repository of FAQs as well, right? So a new
Right.
joiner comes, goes through the FAQs, quickly get the challenges resolved,
Correct.
and we have having SMEs being rotated from time to time, so that everybody gets chance to lead this, and
Right.
also ensure that everybody feels valued and engaged, because your employees are your most valuable thing in the world today, right? And
Absolutely.
human beings needs to be cared, loved, and valued, right? And
That's true.
community nothing can be better than being in the part of a community.
That's very true. That's very true. With this, I think we would end our formal conversation and question answer session. In the audience, if you have any questions, if you feel you have to ask, you can please use the chat box and put the questions. In case you want to connect with Kiran, maybe at a later stage, you can always get in touch with her through LinkedIn. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So, in case you have any questions from the audience, please feel free to kind of put it in the chat box. Okay. Okay, not a problem. I don't see any questions, but the topic is also such that, people will have to kind of experience the process of building a community, and then some questions might come. So I'm sure, Kiran, at that point of time, they will get in touch with you.
No worries,
Um,
definitely fine. I know it's not easy,
yeah.
because this
And
is
the topic is also very specific. I feel, you should inculcate the entire feeling of building a community to begin with, and then you can go ahead with that. So I'm
it's
sure
it's
at
a
the later
cultural
stage.
change, right? It's a very
Absolutely.
cultural change.
That's
So
very true.
not a
That's very
problem.
true.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Wish you all the best, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kulin.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, audience, for attending today's session. Have a very good weekend. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.